Welcome back, everybody. It's Rama from Junk Journal Divas. Hello, my friends. Today I am making some more painty papers and mark making. So at the beginning of the video here, I'm just doing really fast. I kind of speed up the video, and I just wanted to show briefly some of the papers that I did that I'll be working with today. So this one, I just crinkled up the brown paper and I'm just kind of rubbing over it. I used gold paint. It's not showing up very well in the video. And then this one that I work on, this ends up being one of my favorites. And so I'm using a little bit of black gesso along with the white gesso here, and just kind of smearing that around for my background. And then I'm adding some paint. Now, right after I kind of speed through the process here, I'm going to talk about some of the things, the random things that I found in my house to use to apply the paint and make some marks. This ended up being one of my favorite ones that I did, and I think it's because of the black and the white gesso, and then also scraping everything. I scrape all of the paint on, and I just really liked the way that this one turned out. And I just keep going back and adding more layers. And then after this, I thought, well, I've got a lot of jelly prints, and a lot of them are just those, you know, the runoff papers that you just clean your brayer. And so I grabbed a couple of jelly prints, and I thought I can jazz these up and add a few things to them, some mark making. So that's what I'm doing here, and I'm using my lunar paste and this piece of tape as a stencil to put on the lunar paste. So this turned out really cool. And then for this one, again, I just went back to that scraping the paint method, and that's just a layer of gesso, and then I put a couple pieces of tissue paper on top of that. And I'm going to give this a good dry because I want to add some shapes and different marks on top of this. So this piece was kind of bright because I used the metallic paint on the background, but it was still fun. Still fun to just kind of explore and play, and I wasn't really thinking too much as I went through making these. And now I'm back to that original one that I said I think is my favorite, just adding a few more marks. So before I get working on my DivaDelight projects with my papers, I wanted to kind of show the results of what I did here so far and the stuff that I used. So this is the styrofoam piece that I was using, and just literally pulling pieces off to do different edges. So I had that. I used this for the black one, and I'll save this because I'm going to be doing more. I have a wooden spool that was here, so I just grabbed it and was using that. Of course, the heart-shaped bubble wrap that I got Happy Mail. This thing is, you know how this goes into the sides of saran wrap to hold the roll in, and I had an empty roll, so I grabbed this out. It's literally whatever the heck you can find. Things to scrape with. I've got my scraper, palette knife. I've got these spatulas, paint markers or regular markers. This is just some generic brand, and it actually works really well, so it does not have to be, you know, expensive markers. I was even using a little mini dauber to make some circles. Now, to add additional layers, you could use a napkin. You need to remove all of the layers in order to do the decoupage, because you don't want all of this. So if you use a piece of Scotch tape, and it will tear up. Ooh, that was very easy. Okay, now I can tell this one has another layer. I think most of them have 3 layers, but sometimes they only have 2. But I can kind of feel, yeah, this one has another. Okay, and then now this last layer is what you would want to decoupage with. And then I also wanted to show, so all of these paints that I am using, these are from YANETTE, who I talk about all the time. She's who I buy all of my Tim Holtz stuff through. And she has anything that is Ranger. So that's Tim Holtz, Wakely. These are collage papers, as you can see here. So she's got like, this kind of stuff, the collage papers. She's got a ton of stuff. I also used my lunar pastes. I got all my lunar pastes from her. I mean, literally, she's got all the stuff. She's got the pencils. She has the crayons. So definitely go check her out. I'm going to put her link. It's always in my video description. I just like to support my creative friends, and I was excited to find that somebody that I know in this little crafty community is selling all these fabulous products. So whether it is watercolors, acrylic paints, whatever you have, just use what you have. So let me move this stuff aside. And let's just look at some of the stuff that I did. So this, I've done this before, and while I was here just being messy, I wanted to do another one. But I like crumbling the paper up, and then I just rub over it with different colors. You could use ink. I just used my spatula, kind of dip it in, whatever color I want to work with, and just rub it over. So I wanted to do some of that. Okay, so I think this is the first one I did. And if you look at this one, the thing that I liked about this was the scraping. Because at first I had my, this thing, and I was making the lines, and then I just took it and I scraped with paint, and I really like the way that that is. So I can't stress enough, you guys, just experiment with different things, and you'll see what you like. So I really like this one a lot, and let me see, this might be my favorite actually so far. Let's see, this one. Oh, so this one I have some tissue paper underneath here. So I did gesso, tissue paper, and then I also scraped the paint, and then we just have some different marks on top of here. Oh, I did want to go, okay, so if you see the squares here, I used my Stabilo watercolor pencil to go around there, and then I used my water pen or water brush to kind of smear it, but I don't like it as much as the marker. So I kind of did want to add a couple of, kind of outline these guys here. Okay, so I'm going to leave this one. And then, guys, a great thing to grab if you have jelly prints or your, your runoff papers where you just clean your brayer when you're doing your pages. That's what this is. You can see I was just cleaning my brayer. I just went over this with some of my lunar paste. Aren't these fun? I love the lunar pastes. So just add a little something something. And then these that I used that piece of tape. I use this. And you guys, this peels off. It's contractor tape or something. I got it at Lowe's. And I love using this stuff as a stencil. And then you can use it also in your mixed media pieces. So this was a jelly print, and I put the dots on top of. This one, also the same, jelly print underneath. I put the dots on top. This is another one. Now this one I definitely would probably do a little something else to it, but I don't know. We'll see where I end up using it. I did one with black gesso, and then I just drew with white marker. And then these are just little pieces. This is another one that I did the scraping. Also, if you have a brayer, I didn't really get my brayer out here, but I am going to do some jelly printing coming up next. We're going to do some jelly prints, and I'm going to be doing it with some feathers and all kinds of fun stuff. I've been waiting for this for a little while. I got this from my diva sister, Steph, and this is a tea bag. I just happen to have a whole bunch of these, and how cute is this to put it on your jelly plate? So Steph, I just did a video not long ago. She has a shop and she sells jelly prints, and it is Altered Start Studio. So I have a lot of stuff that I can work with here, so I want to get started and make some DivaDelight. So I'll show you what my plan is. I also have all these, so you guys, I've got a lot of papers, but the reason I did so many of these is because I want to share some in my DivaDelight. So my idea, I printed out a couple of focal points from House Whimsy, of course. I love these. So this is kind of why I've been pulling these colors to work with, because I've wanted to use these girls. And as always, I'll put the links to all the digitals that I'm using from House Whimsy. You guys know I'm crazy about House Whimsy. Here's some that I didn't cut up yet. I wish I could remember it. I think it's something Muse. And print some of this page. And then I also had to print this one. She Has Spring. And I just loved these photos. I couldn't decide, so I just printed a whole bunch. Now this one is definitely Muse something. Like I said, I'll put all of the links, but this comes a whole bunch of different sizes, and then it has all of these birds and botanical stuff in there. How fun. And I think botanical stuff is my favorite to work with, and it probably has a lot to do with the colors, because I always love greens and blues. And these are just a couple of the pages, you guys. It's a huge kit. I just printed some. All right, so my idea was to take these and decorate. I have these envelopes, and I grabbed these because the brown looks so nice with these. I was going to just use some junk mail envelopes, but like, you know, now I don't have to like go to the edge, and it just looks pretty. And then I also have a bunch of these bags, so I thought I could do maybe something with these. And then for the envelopes, I can cut off the top and turn it into a pocket so I can put some of my papers down in here. So this is what I am going to do. And I'll probably start with some of these guys, the envelopes, even though these are what I've got a ton of, but it's okay. Eventually they'll be used. Okay, so if I do 4 by 6, it will fit inside here with a little bit left over. And actually, I might start with this one and chop it up into 4x6 pieces, and then we can always add to it once I get my focal point on there. So let's do that. So I got my papers cut up, and I decided to add a little piece of this one with the squares, and I just kind of liked the patterns, the different patterns on here, the colors, and I just liked the way that it looked, a little more interest going on in the background. So I'm adding that little piece to the bottom. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of getting these papers ready first. I'm going to do some sewing around them, and then after they're finished, then I can kind of go back and glue them onto my envelopes. So that is my plan. Of course, I want to mark around all of the edges. This made a huge difference just going around with my ink. And then this is that crinkled up paper, and I'm going to kind of use little bits and pieces to collage with, just to add a little something to these. And you can see I also cut up some of the little labels that came with that kit from House Whimsy. So I'm going to go ahead and glue some of these pieces together and play around with these elements. I'm going to play a little bit of music for this part and speed it up, just to kind of show putting the elements together here, and then we will meet up at the end for a flip through. So the way that I figured out that I wanted to do these was just to do my little collages first, and then I'm going to glue these onto my envelopes. Aren't these so cute? I need another little circle for that girl. So I'm going to glue them onto my envelopes. I can glue my envelopes closed first, and I'll have to cut the top off. And then I'll cut up some of my papers that I can fit down inside of here. Good morning, my friends. Guess what? I've got my coffee in hand, and today my kids don't have school. It's a teacher's work day, so that means I got to sleep in, which I didn't, but I get to spend the day in my room. And it was unexpected because I forgot about it, so I'm really excited. So let me show you the DivaDelights that I finished. So start with these guys. This one is the envelope. And I had the idea to add a little page tab and a dangle here, but I actually didn't do that with any of the other ones. I kind of forgot as I started creating. But you can see I used some of that paper along the side here, a little bit here, and a flower. Just kind of did a little cluster. And this paper didn't really have marks on it, so I made some marks after I got it on here. Now this one I used white thread, but all of the other ones I used black. I realized, you know, the contrast, I kind of like that better, but this little girl is so cute. And then I stuffed these. So I added a piece of this tape that I love to use as a stencil, and just some little bits of the papers that I did. This is a napkin that I thought would be great to add some layers. And just some other bits here. Painty papers, and I love this one with the lunar paste in the background. Now, one thing that I will say when you're gluing the envelope together, so here's an empty one. When you're gluing the envelope, I went along the edge here, but I also went right along the very edge here. And that is because when it's closed, if you're using it as a pocket, some of these will catch on the papers. Okay, so that's a tip. Make sure you go along this edge also to keep that from happening. So that's my first one. Then we got this one. You can see here I have this other paper, did some marks, messy sewing, and then I just took pieces of that wrinkly paper. And then this is just a random paper ruffle thing that I made just to have a little something to add. Another one here. I think these pretty much have all the same papers going on, just a little different, the sayings. And here's this one. I like this plant life and with the flower head. And then we got this one. Now this one, I had this piece of sari on my desk and I thought, oh, that looks perfect on her. So I just added it. I love my messy edges, I call them. You know, the edges of my desk that have piled up random bits of things sitting there, which you guys can't see, but believe me, they're there. Okay, so I did those. And then I needed to make some more, so I used the bags that I had and did kind of the same idea. I used the paper here. This is a large painted paper, and then I just did some extra marks once I got it glued down onto my bag. And I really love this kit. I can't wait. I want to make a little flippy flop journal. I made another botanical one that was like what I have in mind. but I want to use this kit because I just love it. And then this one, I had to use 2 papers here. So I kind of put my focal point down inside here and just kind of ripped it to put my focal point down inside there. And the last one. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. And if you are in Junk Journal Divas and signed up for DivaDelights, look out for some happy mail. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for some more crafty adventures.